Hello friends, in this video we will discuss Inclusive Development Index 2018. This topic is important for RBI Grade B and NABARD Grade A and Grade B 2018 exams. So let us discuss this topic in detail. Here we have the outline for our discussion with regard to this topic. We will discuss briefly about the inclusive growth, its meaning. Then we will discuss about the index, the parameters of the index, and the findings of the index 2018. Then we will discuss the India's performance and other key findings of the report, and then we will finally conclude the index with its conclusion. Before we discuss the inclusive in the development index, we need to understand what does inclusive growth or inclusive development means. So here we need to understand the meaning. Inclusive growth is basically the economic growth that creates opportunities for all and for all the segments of the society or the population, and it distributes the benefits which are derived from this growth to all the sections of the society, to all the people of the country, both in terms of monetary and non-monetary terms, and fairly across all the society. So we can say inclusive growth means opportunity for all and the results for all. The aim of inclusive growth is the shared prosperity of all the sections of the society. Here are the 5 broad parameters, basic parameters along which the inclusive in growth or development is being calculated or evaluated. The first is the sustainable. The growth must be sustainable, it should be long run, and the future generations must be able to reap the benefits, take benefit or from the growth that we are witnessing today. The second main parameter is the reduction in poverty and inequality. There should be reduction in poverty and inequality because of the growth and development we are doing in the society. It will automatically help to enhance the standard of living of the people. The third is participation by all in growth, which means that all the sections of the society contribute in the growth trajectory of the country. There is no exclusion but opportunities for all the persons. For example, we can't leave the persons with disabilities. They are also contributing towards the economic activities. They are not excluded by being because of their disabilities. Therefore, they need to be included in their contribution towards the development of the country. Then we also need to ensure that the benefits which because of the development are also shared by all the sections of the society, both in monetary and non-monetary terms. There should be proper distribution via income. Also there will availability of facilities. The facilities should not be concentrated in the higher income group only, but to the lower income groups only, or the underserved or unserved section of the societies also. Next parameter is that environment care. Environmental conditions are also taken care of. The ecology is also not disturbed, so that the overall growth and development of the country is taken care of by contribution of all and sharing the benefit of all without harming the natural environment of the country. So this is all what inclusive growth or inclusive development means. The Inclusive Development Index tries to gauge how the inclusive growth is for any particular country. So the index is to measure the economic performance of the country and is basically an annual assessment of 103 countries with respect to their economic performance, and it measures how different countries perform on the different dimensions of economic progress in addition to GDP, and also at the same time also ensuring the inclusiveness, which means inclusiveness of growth, which means opportunities for all and the benefits for all. The current index was a part of project of World Economic Forum Systems Initiative on shaping the future of economic progress. This particular project aims to inform and enable sustained and inclusive economic progress through deepened public-private cooperation, through leadership, analysis, strategic dialogues, also including the social impact through corporate actions. The index was introduced in 2017 as a new economic policy framework, and it measures the performance in its Inclusive Growth and Development Report 2017, in which it was introduced. This particular index has been designed as an alternative to GDP, which measures the current production of goods and services in the country. GDP doesn't measure how this production contributes to broad social economic progress of the entire society, manifested in different indicators, for example the economic security, quality of life, or employment opportunities. However, the Inclusive Development Index tries to measure the socio-economic benefits or progress made by the development of the country, how this progress has been distributed to different sections of the society, that is all the persons living within the country. The current index, it ranks the economies in two groups. The one is advanced and the other is emerging. The advanced has 29 economies and the emerging has 47 economies. Besides this categorization, the index also classifies the countries in 5 subcategories, which is based on 5-year trend of their overall inclusive development growth score. For example, these have been into 5. For example, 1, the receding ones, those are lacking behind in their score, their score on development index is continuously decreasing. Then there is slowly receding. Then there are stable countries. Then we have slowly advancing, which are moving towards the inclusiveness of the growth but slowly. And then there are advancing, which have a good rate of inclusiveness in their development. So these are the 5 subcategories in which the countries are divided. This particular index has a score value from 1 to 7, that is the scale of this index. 1 means the worst performer and 7 means the best performance on the index of inclusive development. The index, inclusive index, has 3 main pillars or main indicators. These are the growth and development. The second is inclusion, and the third is intergenerational equity and sustainability. These 3 key parameters are then further categorized into sub-indicators, and there are in total 12 sub-indicators which have been listed here. The first one is the GDP per capita has been calculated. For each of these sub-indicators are calculated on per country basis, and then the score is arrived at, and based on those scores the rankings are given. The first sub indicator is the GDP. The second is the labor productivity, which refers to output per unit of labor input. Then we have healthy life expectancy, that is the number of years that a person is expected to live in full health, by taking into account the years lived in less than full health due to any kind of disease or injury. So this is also taken care of. Then fourth sub-indicator is employment, that is employment to population ratio, which is the proportion of country's population that is employed. So generally persons between 15 years to 60 are taken into consideration via calculating this sub indicator. Then we have the fifth sub indicator, that is median household income, which is the median of daily per capita income. It is being taken with respect to 2011 based on the data available through purchasing power parity compared to dollar. Then we have the sixth sub indicator, income Gini. This indicator measures the extent to which net distribution of income, the income that is being post tax and post transfers among the individuals or households within an economy, how much it deviates from the perfectly equal distribution. For example, the equal distribution should be rupees 50, suppose, per person. This is the ideal one, and the actual is rupees 20 per person for some, and for low category and for few it is 100. So there is a deviation from this 50 rupees, and this is being measured by income Gini indicator. If the index is 0, then it represents perfect equality, and if the index is of 100, it implies perfect inequality. Then we have the poverty rate as seventh factor, which determines how much the poverty level is there in the countries, and the criteria is different for the advanced and the developing countries. Then we have the wealth Gini. This indicator had only income as measure. Only income was measured to determine the inequality, but under this indicator the whole wealth, income plus other assets are considered to arrive at inequality index. It is same like if it is 0, then it is equality, and if it's 100 or 1, then it means perfect inequality. Here it is 1, and for it is 0 and 100. Then we have adjusted net savings as ninth sub indicator. This basically tries to measure the natural capital that we have utilized, and how much based on those natural resources we have utilized the natural resources, and what we have done to promote the natural resources, to save the natural resources. So this indicator relates to that particular segment. It takes into account the real difference between the production as well as consumption by capturing the depreciation in fixed capital, depletion of natural resources, and the damage from pollution. So it is being taken care of here. Then we have the carbon intensity of GDP as 10th indicator. It is the measure of how much carbon the economies emit for every dollar of GDP they produce. Next we have public debt as the 11th indicator. Public debt consists of all the liabilities that require payment of interest or principal by the debtor to the creditor. All that public debt in the name of government is taken care of under this segment or this indicator. Then 12th sub indicator or the last is dependency ratio, which is the ratio of dependents, mainly the people less than the age of 15 years and more than that of 60 years. So these are not employed, so they are not in the working age group, so they are dependent on the working age group population. So the proportion of dependency ratio is also utilized to arrive at inclusive development index. Here's the index 2018 values. This table shows the advancing economies index or ranking. The first here is Norway with a score of 6.08. Second is Iceland, and third is Luxembourg. and these are the top 5 for advancing economies. Here we have emerging economies. Among emerging economies, the first rank is taken by Lithuania with 4.86 index score, and the rest have been listed here as Hungary, Azerbaijan, Latvia and Poland. From our understanding of this data, we can see that the most of the countries are from Europe, which have gained higher positions in the inclusive development index for 2018. This table relates to BRICS nations, and among the BRICS nations, Russia is the first one with a score of 4.2, and the overall rank of Russia is 19th. Then we have China with an overall rank of 26th. Then we have Brazil at 37th, and South Africa is the last at 69th rank, while India has overall rank of 62 with a score of 3.09. Now let us discuss India's performance vis-a-vis the index. For 2018, the India has taken the rank of 62 with a score of 3.09. India has performed best in terms of intergenerational equity and sustainability, which is the third key parameter or index for evaluating the index scores. The country is fourth among BRICS nations. The first is Russia. We have just discussed this in detail. Also, the country is least in inclusive development index in terms of G20 countries. Talking about the ranking as compared to the neighboring countries are ranked above India. For example, Sri Lanka is at 40th rank, Bangladesh is at 34th rank, and even Pakistan is at 47th rank, with Nepal at 22nd rank. So there is a lot of scope for improvement for India. Also, the report highlighted that there is a prevalence of inequality in the country, both in terms of income and wealth, and therefore there is substantial scope for improvement for India in this respect. Despite all these factors, India is still among the 10 emerging economies with an advancing trend. So it is a kind of good sign for India that we are improving our score on the inclusive index over the past few years, but still we need to do a lot of things in order to get a better ranking in the future. Next, we have certain key findings from the report. The key finding says that small European economies dominate the top ranks in the index, and it is only Australia, which is 9th rank, which is a non-European country, in top 10 positions. Next, among G7 economies, Germany ranked the highest with 12th rank. The report also noticed that in some countries there is stark difference between the individual pillars. For example, the US, which ranks 10th out of 29 advanced economies on growth and development, but 26th on intergenerational equity and sustainability, and 28th on inclusion. So the countries needs to eliminate this difference among different parameters, and in order to get overall good score on the overall score and ranking on the index. The next key finding is that there has been 64% of 103 economies have shown improvement as per the data available in their index scores. so which is a positive sign that the countries are improving over the past few years based upon their new policy initiatives. Similarly, the next key finding is that there has been decline in poverty in emerging economies. However, there has been income inequality which has risen or remained stagnant in many of the advanced economies. Next, the wealth is significantly more unequally distributed than income uh, in both kinds of segments, advanced and emerging. The next is that intergenerational equity and sustainability. Under this heading, the trend is discouraging, and most of the country has seen a decrease in the score value. Next is that there is a strong GDP growth doesn't mean that the social economic progress has improved and the living standards of the persons has improved. So it is one of the key point by the report taken into account, and in this regard important suggestions have been made by the report to different countries and their governments. Also, the inclusive economic progress is related with higher levels of interpersonal trust, and it has helped. It indicates that economies where survey respondents agreed that most people can be trusted, they perform well on inclusive development index. So it is a point to be taken care of to increase the trust level among the different factors. Coming on to the conclusion, the report has concluded that many countries have significant potential to increase the economic growth as well as social inclusion, and hence to improve their score and rank on inclusive development index. The report also recognized that there is need to reconceive and prioritize structural economic reforms as a systematic effort to strengthen the institutions and the structural features of economy that could play a greater role in uh, making the society more inclusive and making the growth more inclusive. Also, it has urged the leaders to urgently move towards a new model, growth model, that is of inclusive growth and development, saying that the current high reliance on GDP as a measure of economic achievement is fueling short termism and inequality. So, we need a new growth model that takes into account the changes in quality of life and living standards, being improvements in living standards because of the growth. To measure such kind of quality of life improvements has to be developed. The standards and the growth models need to be developed and implemented in order to transform inclusive growth and bring into action the different sections of the society into the working and growth and development of the entire country in an inclusive manner. So this was all for Inclusive in Development Index 2018. For more videos, you can visit www.edutab.co.in. Thank you and happy learning.